Authored by Koen Verbruggen of RaboBank. Summary: the Commerce Department finished the report into whether automotive imports are a threat to the U.S. national security, although the conclusion of the report has not been released yet. It is likely that Trump now has 90 days to decide on imposing tariffs. We expect that Trump will wait with imposing tariffs and will use it as leverage in coming trade negotiations. The most important car exporters to the U.S. are likely to receive exemptions based on progress of ongoing trade talks or earlier agreements about trade. USMCA. The economic impact from tariffs would be substantial for countries dependent on U.S. car imports, such as Germany, Japan, Mexico and Canada. Very dangerous cars. Trump to proceed with car tariffs. The Commerce Department concluded their investigation whether automotive imports are a threat to the U.S. national security under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. The Commerce Department did not release any details on the findings. The report could allow President Trump to restrict imports that threaten to impair the national security. He now has 90 days to decide about imposing tariffs, making his decision to be due by the 18th of May. We expect Trump to impose tariffs on car imports, but several countries will be given an exemption. Trump is likely to take some time and not impose the tariffs immediately. After the release of a similar report on aluminum and steel tariffs last year, which was made publicly available a month after completion, he took one additional month to announce the import tariffs on aluminum and steel. The most important trading partners of the U.S. are Mexico, Canada, Japan and the EU. Mexico, Canada and the United States have agreed on a new trade deal, USMCA, and should receive temporary exemptions until USMCA is ratified and then avoid them altogether. Japan and the EU are looking to start trade talks, and the possible exemption is likely to be conditional on the progress in these negotiations. The 232 report should therefore mainly be seen as a possibility to give the U.S. more leverage during these talks. Trade relationships. The global car industry. As we have noted before, the trade relationships regarding the automotive industry between the U.S. and the rest of the world are highly intertwined. Depending on the precise category the U.S. is going to target, the value of car imports will be around $250 billion United States dollars. Figure 1 shows that the U.S. imports cars mainly from Mexico, Canada, the EU and Japan. The share of car imports from China is relatively small. Within the EU, the most dependent country on U.S. imports is clearly Germany. By imposing tariffs on automotive imports, Trump aims to protect the domestic automotive sector, boosting their domestic market share and creating more jobs. This line of reasoning misses two important points. The first one is that the U.S. car industry is highly reliant on intermediate inputs. Tariffs would raise the cost of these parts, making the domestically produced cars more expensive and hence lowering demand both in the U.S. and from abroad. The second one is that the tariffs are likely to be met with retaliation, lowering the demand for U.S. cars abroad even more. Taken together, we think the effect on the U.S. economy will be ambiguous at best and likely negative in the long run. If Trump decides to move ahead, it is expected that the tariffs will be in the range of 20 to 25%. This would indicate a 22.5% tariff increase for cars, and could lead to a one-third reduction in car exports to the U.S. from the rest of the world. For the EU, this would mean a reduction in exports of $17 billion United States dollars. Calculations by the IFO Institute indicate that in the long run, German car exports to the U.S. could even fall by almost 50%. The car exports from Japan to the U.S. are worth almost $50 billion United States dollars, which is more than one-third of total exports to the U.S. A U.S. import tariff on this category could therefore seriously hit the Japanese economy, reducing the estimated exports by around $16.2 billion United States dollars. The total impact is likely to be larger given the integrated supply chains and interconnectedness between the car sector and other sectors in the economy. Retaliation. The EU has already communicated to be prepared to target $22.7 billion United States dollars of U.S. exports with import tariffs if Trump decides to impose tariffs on automotive imports. Since we expect that the U.S. will give an exemption to the EU, it is likely that the retaliation will not take place in coming months. A further escalation of the trade war between the U.S. and the EU will remain conditional on the progress of the coming trade talks. The same will hold for the trade tensions between Japan and the U.S. It still seems likely that the U.S. and Japan will reach something like a deal later this year, where the expectation is that Japan will meet U.S. demands in the field of agriculture and the automotive sector. Conclusion. Although we do not expect that Trump will impose the tariffs immediately, they will increase uncertainty and could make firms hesitant to make investment decisions. This will be an additional downside risk for the already slowing Eurozone economy. Especially Germany, which saw its economy slowing down significantly in the third and fourth quarter of 2018, is vulnerable to tariffs imposed on cars. It is fair to say that the tariffs come at an ill-timed moment for the Eurozone, which already has enough issues challenging the economy.